22 minutes, 22 doctors, 0 heartbeat. Marcus Williams pushed past security, his mop bucket clattering to the floor. The attending physician spun around furious. "Sir, you need to leave." "Step aside," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the chaos like a scalpel. "If you want her to live, let me try." "You're a janitor." Dr. Patterson's face went red. "Security, remove this man." Through the glass, Senator Robert Hartford pressed both hands against the window, watching his daughter's lifeless body surrounded by expensive doctors who'd run out of answers. His eyes met Marcus's. 2 fathers, 1 dying girl. "Let him try." The senator's voice came through the intercom, broken and desperate. "For God's sake, just let him try. Before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. If you believe that saving lives matters more than credentials, subscribe to this channel right now. Stay with me until the end of Marcus's story. I promise you it's going to change how you see heroes. And comment below with what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Because what happened in that trauma room could happen anywhere. Now let me tell you about the night a janitor did what 22 doctors couldn't. Marcus Williams wasn't supposed to be anywhere near Trauma Room 4. He was supposed to be mopping the 3rd floor surgical wing, finishing his shift, going home to his daughter Lily, who was waiting with her breathing nebulizer and her homework and her questions about why Daddy always smelled like hospital disinfectant. But the code blue alarm had been screaming for 22 minutes, and Marcus had been a combat medic in Afghanistan long enough to know what 22 minutes of cardiac arrest meant. It meant brain damage. It meant organ failure. It meant time of death being called any second. He'd been mopping outside the trauma room, watching through the window as doctor after doctor tried and failed. Standard protocols, textbook procedures, everything by the book, everything wrong. Marcus saw it on the monitor, the rhythm that nobody else seemed to notice. The pattern he'd seen 100 times in field hospitals where the book didn't exist, and improvisation was the only option between life and death. So he made a choice. He walked through those doors, knowing he was about to lose everything. The trauma room exploded with voices the second he crossed the threshold. "Who the hell is this?" A resident backed away from the crash cart. "Security." Dr. Lawrence Patterson, chief of cardiology, didn't even look at Marcus. "Get this man out of my trauma room." 2 security guards moved toward Marcus. He didn't move. He was staring at the girl on the table, 17 years old, her face already going gray, her father watching through glass, like a man watching his whole world end. "She's got paradoxical septal motion," Marcus said. His voice was steady, calm. The voice he'd used when 19-year-old soldiers were bleeding out in the sand, and panic meant death. "You're shocking her into normal sinus rhythm, but you're missing the structural problem. Her septum's not moving right. She needs—" "I don't need medical advice from a janitor." Dr. Patterson's voice went up an octave. "This is a 17-year-old girl in cardiac arrest. We've tried every protocol. We've done everything. You've done everything wrong." Marcus stepped closer to the table. "She doesn't need more electricity. She needs mechanical intervention. 5 seconds. Give me 5 seconds, and if I'm wrong, you can have me arrested. But if I'm right, you're not qualified to die." The voice came through the intercom, Senator Hartford's voice cracking with something beyond desperation. "Please, I don't care who he is. I don't care what he does. If there's a chance, any chance." Dr. Patterson looked at the senator through the glass, at the flat line on the monitor, at the clock showing 23 minutes of failed resuscitation. 5 seconds, Patterson said through clenched teeth. "Then security drags you out in handcuffs." Marcus didn't waste time responding. His hands moved to Elena's chest. Not for compressions. For something else entirely. "What are you doing?" A nurse grabbed his arm. "You can't just—" Precordial thump at the 4th intercostal space left sternal border, combined with anterior-posterior compression to mechanically reset the septal wall. Marcus's hands positioned precisely. "It's not in your protocols because it only works in specific structural abnormalities. I've done it 17 times in combat zones. 16 survivors. That's barbaric, Patterson breathed. That's what works when textbooks fail. Marcus delivered the strike-controlled measured exactly 40 joules of kinetic energy to the precise location where Elena's heart had stopped communicating with itself. For 2 seconds, nothing happened. The monitor stayed flat. Security stepped forward. Then the monitor beeped. Once, twice. Normal sinus rhythm. Elena Hartford gasped a wet, desperate, beautiful sound of someone clawing back from death. The trauma room erupted. Nurses swarmed the table. The resident started shouting vitals. Dr. Patterson stood frozen, staring at the monitor, like it had personally betrayed him. Senator Hartford collapsed against the glass, his forehead pressed to its shoulders, shaking with sobs he'd been holding for 23 minutes. Marcus backed away from the table. His hands were shaking now, the adrenaline crash hitting. He'd just saved a girl's life. He'd also just violated about 40 hospital policies, touched a patient without authorization, and performed an unlicensed medical procedure in front of witnesses. "Sir." The security guard's hand was gentle on Marcus's shoulder. "You need to come with us." "I know." Marcus let himself be led toward the door. He looked back once, saw Elena breathing, saw the medical team stabilizing her, saw the senator watching him through the glass with an expression Marcus couldn't read. Then he was in the hallway, being escorted toward the security office, and reality was setting in, like ice water. "I need to call my daughter," Marcus said quietly. "She's 9. She's home alone. She has cystic fibrosis, and she needs her breathing treatment at 8 o'clock, and I'm not going to be home." "You can make a call from the office," the guard said, not unkindly. "But man, what were you thinking? Walking into a trauma room, touching a patient." "I was thinking about my daughter." Marcus's voice was flat. "I was thinking if that was Lily on that table, and someone knew how to save her, I'd want them to try. I wouldn't care if they were a doctor, or a janitor, or the guy who delivers sandwiches. I'd just want someone to try." The guard was quiet for a moment. Then, "My daughter's got asthma. Bad asthma. I get it. But Marcus, you just ended your career here. You know that, right?" "Yeah, I know." They reached the security office. The guard let Marcus use the phone. He dialed his neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who sometimes watched Lily when Marcus's shift ran late. "Mrs. Chen, it's Marcus. I need you to go check on Lily. I'm going to be late. There was an incident at work and I don't know when I'll—" "Yes, her breathing treatment is in the refrigerator, the blue one." "Thank you. Thank you so much." He hung up, sat down in the hard plastic chair, waited for whatever came next. What came next was the hospital administrator, Margaret Reeves, walking in with a file folder and an expression that looked like she'd just found a bomb in the cafeteria. "Mr. Williams." She sat down across from him. "Do you want to tell me what happened in Trauma Room 4? I saved a girl's life. You violated hospital protocol. You entered a restricted area. You performed a medical procedure without authorization or credentials. I saved a girl's life," Marcus repeated. 22 doctors failed for 23 minutes. I walked in, I fixed the problem, and that girl is breathing. That's what happened." Margaret opened the folder. "Your employment file says you were hired 8 months ago as a night janitor. But there's a note here, prior medical experience. Army combat medic honorably discharged. Previous employment at Detroit Memorial Hospital as an ER technician. Medical license revoked 8 years ago after an incident involving—" She looked up. "You performed an emergency tracheotomy using a ballpoint pen. A teenager was choking to death. The cricothyrotomy kit was locked in a supply room. I had 4 seconds to make a choice. I chose to save his life using what I had. His family sued the hospital for barbaric treatment. The hospital settled. I lost my license to protect them from further liability." Marcus's jaw tightened. The teenager lived. He's in medical school now. I'd do it again. "Mr. Williams, I understand your medical background gives you certain knowledge. But you are not a licensed physician. You are not authorized to treat patients. What you did tonight, regardless of the outcome, was illegal." The outcome was a living girl instead of a dead one. If that's illegal, then your legal system is broken. My legal system? Margaret's eyebrows went up. Mr. Williams, I'm not the enemy here. I'm trying to figure out how to handle a situation where a janitor saved a senator's daughter after our entire cardiology department failed. Do you have any idea the kind of scrutiny this brings? I have an idea that if you're more worried about scrutiny than the fact that your protocols almost killed someone, this hospital has bigger problems than me. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she closed the folder. Senator Hartford wants to meet you. Tomorrow. He's specifically requested. I need my job, Ms. Reeves. Marcus leaned forward. I have a 9-year-old daughter with cystic fibrosis. Her medication costs $3,000 a month. I have insurance through this hospital. If you fire me, I can't afford to keep her alive. So whatever the senator wants, whatever investigation you need to do, fine. But please, please don't fire me before I figure out how to afford next month's prescriptions. Margaret looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You saved a senator's daughter while worrying about affording your own daughter's medication. I saved a father's daughter because I'm a father. The senator part doesn't matter to me. The medication part does. You're suspended with pay pending investigation. That means you keep your insurance, you keep your salary, but you don't come back to this hospital until we figure out what to do with you. She stood. The senator's meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Building B, 3rd floor conference room. Don't be late. Marcus nodded. He'd been suspended, not fired. That was something. He left the hospital at 1 a.m., 5 hours past the end of his shift. His mop bucket was still in the hallway outside Trauma Room 4. Someone else would have to clean it up. The bus ride home took 40 minutes. Marcus spent it staring out the window, watching the city slide past, trying to figure out how to explain to Lily why he'd risked everything they had. Mrs. Chen was waiting on the porch when he got home. She was in her bathrobe, her gray hair in curlers, her face creased with worry. She's sleeping, breathing's good. I gave her the treatment at 8 like you said. Mrs. Chen studied Marcus's face. You okay, Marcus? You look like you've seen a ghost. I've seen what happens when people care more about rules than lives. Marcus rubbed his face. Thank you for watching her, Mrs. Chen. I don't know what I'd do without you. You'd figure it out. You always do. She patted his arm. That girl on the phone, she said there was an incident at work. You in trouble? Maybe. I don't know yet. But did you do the right thing? Marcus thought about Elena Hartford gasping back to life, about her father's sobs of relief, about the monitor going from flatline to normal rhythm in 2 seconds. Yeah, I did the right thing. Then it'll work out. It always does when you do the right thing. Marcus wished he could believe that. But he'd done the right thing 8 years ago too, and it had cost him his medical license, his career, and any chance of ever being a doctor again. Inside the apartment, Lily was asleep on the couch, her nebulizer mask still on her face, her small chest rising and falling in the rhythm. Marcus listened for every single night to make sure she was still breathing. He gently removed the mask, carried her to her bed, tucked her in. She stirred her eyes, opening just a crack. Dad? Hey, baby. I'm home. You're late. I know, I'm sorry. There was something at work I had to handle. Did you save someone? Lily's voice was sleepy but knowing. She'd heard enough of her father's stories about Afghanistan to know what he did when people needed saving. Yeah, baby, I saved someone. Then it's okay you're late. She rolled over, already falling back asleep. You're a hero, Dad. Heroes are allowed to be late. Marcus stood there in the dark, watching his daughter breathe, feeling the weight of what he'd done settle onto his shoulders like concrete. He wasn't a hero. He was a janitor who'd just committed career suicide to save a stranger. And tomorrow, he had to explain himself to a United States senator. He didn't sleep that night. At 6 a.m., he gave Lily her morning breathing treatment, made her breakfast, got her ready for school. She chattered about her science project, about her friend Emma, who had a new puppy about normal 9-year-old things that felt impossibly precious. "Dad, you're quiet," Lily said, studying him over her cereal. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby, just tired." "You're always tired. But this is different tired. This is worried tired." Too smart. His daughter was too damn smart. "I might have to change jobs soon, but it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine." Lily put down her spoon. "Did you get fired for saving that person?" Marcus's throat went tight. "I got suspended. There's going to be a meeting today to figure out what happens next." "Are they mad you saved someone?" "They're mad I broke the rules to do it." "That's stupid." Lily's voice was fierce. "If someone's dying, you save them. That's not breaking rules, that's being human." "I wish everyone thought like you, baby." "They should. The world would be better." Marcus walked Lily to the bus stop at 7:30, watched her climb onto the bus with her backpack and her inhaler and her fierce little heart. Watched the bus drive away, carrying the only thing in the world that mattered to him. Then he went home, put on the only suit he owned, bought at Goodwill 3 years ago for his mother's funeral, and prepared to meet Senator Robert Hartford. The meeting was in Building B, the administrative wing of St. Catherine's Hospital. Marcus had never been in this building before. Janitors cleaned the clinical areas, not the places where decisions got made. The conference room was on the 3rd floor. Marcus arrived at 9:50, 10 minutes early. A secretary told him to wait. He waited. At 10:15, the door opened. Senator Hartford walked in. Marcus had seen him on TV, of course. Everyone had. Senator Robert Hartford, 62 years old, silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of face that looked like it had never doubted itself. Chairman of the Senate Health Committee, advocate for healthcare reform, likely presidential candidate. In person, he looked exhausted. His eyes were red. His tie was crooked. He looked like a man who'd spent the night watching his daughter breathe and thanking God she could. "Mr. Williams." The senator extended his hand. "Thank you for coming." Marcus shook it. "Sir, please sit." Hartford sat across from him. "I'm going to be direct because I don't have time for political niceties. My daughter was dead. 22 doctors. The best cardiologists money can buy tried everything in their protocols to save her. You walked in a janitor with no legal authority to touch her, and you did what none of them could do. I need to understand how that's possible." "I saw something they missed. That's all." "That's not all. I've reviewed your file. Combat medic, 8 years in Afghanistan, 17 field saves using unconventional techniques. You were good enough to be a doctor. Why are you mopping floors?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "I lost my medical license for saving a life the wrong way. Apparently there's a right way and a wrong way to prevent someone from dying. I used the wrong way, twice now." "The tracheotomy with the pen." "You've done your homework." "I always do." Hartford leaned forward. "Let me tell you what's going to happen, Mr. Williams. The hospital is terrified. You violated every protocol they have. If they don't discipline you, it sets a precedent that anyone can walk into a trauma room and start performing procedures. But if they fire you, I'll make sure every news outlet in the country knows that St. Catherine's fired the man who saved my daughter's life after their entire staff failed. So I'm leverage. You're a problem, but you're also a miracle. And I need to figure out which one matters more." "Senator, I don't care about being a miracle. I care about keeping my insurance so my daughter doesn't die. That's it. That's all I need from this meeting." Hartford studied him. "Your daughter has cystic fibrosis." "Yes." "How much does treatment cost?" $3,000 a month. More when she gets infections. The insurance through the hospital covers most of it. Without the insurance..." Marcus didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. "I could pay for her treatment, personally, for life, in exchange for your silence about what happened last night." The offer hung in the air like poison. Marcus stood up. "Mr. Williams, my daughter is not for sale, Senator. And neither is the truth about your hospital's incompetence. That's not what I meant. I'm trying to help. You're trying to make a problem disappear. I get it. But I'm not going to pretend 22 doctors did their job when they didn't. I'm not going to let them take credit for what I did, and I'm sure as hell not going to teach my daughter that integrity has a price tag. Marcus walked toward the door. Mr. Williams, wait. He stopped, didn't turn around. You're right, Hartford said quietly. That was insulting. I apologize, but understand I'm grateful. More grateful than I can express. My daughter is alive because of you. Whatever you need, if it's within my power to give, it's yours. What I need is for people to stop caring more about credentials than lives. Can you give me that? That's a bigger ask than you think. That's the only ask I have. Marcus left. He took the elevator down to the lobby, walked out into morning sunshine that felt too bright, too normal for a day when his entire life was falling apart. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Williams, this is Dr. Nina Ortiz. I'm a second-year resident at St. Catherine's. I was in the trauma room last night. I saw what you did. Marcus's stomach dropped. Okay. I have the security footage, and I have a recording of Dr. Patterson telling the staff this morning that his innovative technique saved Elena Hartford's life. He's taking credit for what you did. Of course he is. I want to give this footage to the media. I want people to know the truth. Dr. Ortiz, if you do that, you'll tank your career before it starts. Patterson's one of the most powerful cardiologists in the state. He'll destroy you. Maybe, but I didn't go to medical school to watch doctors steal credit from janitors. That's not medicine. That's ego. And I'm sick of watching ego kill people. Marcus closed his eyes. If you release that footage, the hospital will fire me. They'll call it a distraction, a liability. I'll lose my insurance. Silence on the other end. Then, I didn't think about that. Nobody does. Everyone wants justice until justice has a cost. Then suddenly everyone cares about being practical. Marcus's voice was tired. Keep the footage, Dr. Ortiz. Use it to remember why you became a doctor, but don't release it, not yet. When? I don't know. But there's a girl in that hospital who's alive because I didn't care what it cost me. If you want to honor that, don't make my daughter pay the price for your principles. He hung up, walked to the bus stop, rode home in silence. Arrived at the apartment at noon. Mrs. Chen was on his porch again. She was crying. Marcus ran. What happened? Where's Lily? Is she? School called. She collapsed during recess. Ambulance took her to St. Catherine's. Marcus, her oxygen levels were at 70%. They said it's pneumonia. Bad pneumonia. The world tilted. Marcus was already running back toward the bus stop, pulling out his phone, calling the hospital, getting transferred 3 times before someone confirmed that Lily Williams was in the pediatric ICU and he needed to get there immediately. The bus took 40 minutes. Marcus spent them praying to a God he wasn't sure existed anymore. Lily was in room 312, hooked up to oxygen IV antibiotics monitors, beeping in the rhythm Marcus had learned to hate. A doctor was standing by her bed. Young, competent looking. She turned when Marcus burst in. Mr. Williams. Is she? How is she? Stable. For now. Bacterial pneumonia, likely Pseudomonas. We've started broad-spectrum antibiotics, but we won't know for 48 hours if she responds. With her underlying CF, her lung function is already compromised. This is serious, Mr. Williams. Lily's eyes opened. Dad. Marcus was at her bedside in 2 steps. Hey, baby, I'm here, I'm right here. Can't breathe good. I know. The doctors are going to fix it. You're going to be okay. The doctor cleared her throat. Mr. Williams, I need to discuss treatment costs. Lily's care is going to be expensive. The antibiotics alone are... I have insurance through the hospital. Yes, about that. The doctor looked uncomfortable. I was notified this morning that your employment status is under review. If your insurance lapses, it won't. Marcus's voice was steel. Whatever I have to do, it won't lapse. But he was lying, and they both knew it. That night, Marcus sat in Lily's hospital room watching her breathe with the help of machines and understood exactly what his choice had cost. He'd saved Elena Hartford. Now he had to figure out how to save his own daughter. And the only person with the power to help him was the senator, whose gratitude might have a price Marcus couldn't afford to pay. Lily's oxygen saturation dropped to 68% at 3 a.m. The monitors started screaming, and Marcus was shoved out of the room by nurses who moved with the practiced urgency of people who knew what 68% meant. He stood in the hallway, his hands pressed against the glass, watching them work on his daughter. A respiratory therapist adjusted the oxygen flow. The attending physician, a different one older, more tired-looking, listened to Lily's lungs with a stethoscope, and his face did something that made Marcus's stomach drop. The doctor came out 5 minutes later. His name tag said Dr. Raymond Chen. Mr. Williams, we need to intubate. No. The word came out automatic. Final. Her lungs aren't responding to the antibiotics. The infection is spreading faster than we anticipated. If we don't secure her airway now... She's 9 years old. Intubation means sedation. Sedation with her lung function means she might not wake up. You know that. I know that. Find another option. Dr. Chen's expression softened. There isn't another option. Her body can't sustain this oxygen level. We're looking at organ failure within hours if we don't act. Marcus wanted to scream, wanted to punch the wall, wanted to do anything except stand there being told his daughter was dying because bacteria didn't care about insurance status or suspended janitors or any of it. How much? His voice came out hoarse. I'm sorry. Intubation. ICU care. How much is this going to cost? Mr. Williams, that's not your concern right now. Your daughter. It's absolutely my concern. My insurance is under review. If it gets canceled while she's intubated, I'm looking at what, 50,000, 100,000. How long before the hospital starts talking about transferring her to county because I can't pay? Dr. Chen looked at him with something like pity. Let us save her first. We'll figure out payment later. No. We figure out payment now, because I need to know if I'm about to go into debt I'll never crawl out of, or if I need to make a phone call I swore I'd never make. What phone call? Marcus didn't answer. He pulled out his phone, found the number Senator Hartford had given him yesterday, and stared at it like it was a live grenade. One call. One acceptance of help he didn't want. One admission that integrity was a luxury his daughter couldn't afford. He dialed. Hartford answered on the second ring. Mr. Williams. My daughter is dying. The hospital wants to intubate her. My insurance is going to be canceled. I need... His voice broke. I need help. Whatever strings you can pull, whatever it costs. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't let my daughter die because I was too proud to ask. Silence on the other end. Then, where are you, Ben? St. Catherine's. Pediatric ICU, room 312. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't sign anything until I arrive. Hartford hung up. Dr. Chen was watching him. Was that Senator Hartford? Yeah. The same senator whose daughter you saved last night. The same. Well, Dr. Chen's expression was unreadable. That's either the best phone call you've ever made or the worst. Time will tell. In the meantime, I'm going to prep your daughter for intubation. We can't wait for politics, Mr. Williams. We can only wait so long for biology. They took Lily 15 minutes later. Marcus wasn't allowed in the room for the procedure. He stood outside watching through the glass as they put his 9-year-old daughter on a ventilator and felt something inside him crack open. This was his fault. He'd saved Elena Hartford knowing it would cost him his job, knowing it would put Lily at risk. He'd done it anyway because he couldn't watch a father lose his daughter. Now he was the father losing his daughter. Senator Hartford arrived at 3:40 a.m., still wearing a suit that looked like it cost more than Marcus's car. He walked into the ICU like he owned it, which given his donations to St. Catherine's, he basically did. "Where is she?" Marcus pointed to room 312. Hartford looked through the glass at Lily, small, pale breathing only because a machine was doing it for her. "How old?" "9. "Jesus." Hartford's voice went quiet. "She looks like Elena did at that age, before the world got complicated." "Your daughter's alive. Mine's—" Marcus couldn't finish. "Your daughter is going to be fine. I'm making a call, right now." Hartford pulled out his phone, dialed. "Margaret Robert Hartford. I'm at St. Catherine's Pediatric ICU. Marcus Williams's daughter needs care. Extensive care. I want her on the best antibiotics you have. I want pulmonology and infectious disease consultations immediately. And I want her insurance flagged as protected, no cancellation, no review, no bureaucratic games. Yes, I'm aware of his employment status. I don't care. Consider this a personal favor to me and Margaret. I never forget who owes me favors." He hung up, looked at Marcus. "Done. Your daughter has the best care available, and your insurance is protected." Marcus felt his knees go weak. "Why, what do you want from me?" "I want you to let me help without making it transactional. Is that possible?" "Nothing's free, Senator. What's the catch?" Hartford was quiet for a long moment. Then, "The catch is that in 3 hours, Dr. Patterson is giving a press conference about the innovative technique he used to save my daughter's life. He's going to talk about his quick thinking and his years of experience and his dedication to patient care. He's going to lie Marcus on national television, and I need to know if you're going to let him. You want me to expose him. I want you to tell the truth. There's a difference. Not to the hospital, not to Patterson. If I go public, I'm not just fired, I'm blacklisted. No hospital in the country will hire me, medical or janitorial. I become unemployable. Or you become a hero, the man who saved a senator's daughter when 22 doctors failed. The man who showed that experience matters more than credentials. The man whose daughter is on a ventilator because he can't afford to be a hero." Marcus's voice was hard. "You want me to blow up my life for your truth, fine. But my daughter doesn't pay that price. You want me to go public, you guarantee in writing with lawyers ironclad that Lily's medical care is covered for life. Not because I'm asking for charity, because that's what my silence about your hospital's incompetence is worth." Hartford's eyes narrowed. "You're negotiating with me. You're damn right I am. You taught me that. Everything's transactional, Senator. So let's transact. What's your daughter's life worth? What's the truth worth? What's your political career worth when people find out you let a janitor save Elena, while your expensive doctors stood around with their thumbs up their asses? That's a hell of a speech for a man who wouldn't accept my help yesterday." "Yesterday my daughter was breathing on her own." Hartford studied him. Then he pulled out his phone again. "David Robert Hartford, I need a contract drawn up immediately. Medical care guarantee for a minor Lily Williams, age 9. Full coverage for life, all conditions, no caps, no exceptions. Yes, I know what time it is. Have it ready in 2 hours." He put the phone away. "You'll have your contract by 6 a.m. Signed, notarized, legally binding. In exchange, you tell the truth about what happened in that trauma room. You let Dr. Ortiz release the security footage, and you let me make sure Patterson never practices medicine again. Why do you care? He saved your daughter as far as the world knows. Because my daughter deserves to know who really saved her life, and Patterson deserves to answer for almost letting her die, because his ego was more important than trying something unconventional." Marcus looked at Lily through the glass, looked at the machines keeping her alive, looked at the senator who was offering him everything he needed, wrapped in everything he feared. "Okay," he said quietly. "You get me the contract, I'll tell the truth." They shook hands. At 6 a.m., a lawyer arrived with papers. Marcus read every word. The contract guaranteed Lily's medical care for life, any condition, any treatment, any hospital. No caps, no exclusions. Renewable automatically. Backed by a trust fund, Hartford was establishing specifically for this purpose. Marcus signed it with shaking hands. At 6:30, Dr. Ortiz arrived. She looked like she hadn't slept either. "Senator Hartford called me. Said you're ready to go public." "I'm ready to tell the truth. There's a difference. Not to Patterson. He's going to destroy you. He's welcome to try. But I've got a senator and a lawyer and a daughter who deserves to grow up in a world where telling the truth doesn't get you crucified. That's enough." Nina pulled out her tablet. "I have the footage queued up. I also have testimony from 3 nurses who were in the room. They're willing to confirm that you performed the procedure, not Patterson. But Marcus, they're terrified. Patterson has ruined careers before. They need protection." Senator Hartford spoke up. "They'll have it. I'll make sure of it. What time is Patterson's press conference?" 9 a.m., main hospital lobby. "Perfect, we'll be there. We'll be." At 8:30, Marcus checked on Lily one more time. Her oxygen levels were stabilizing. The antibiotics were finally working. Dr. Chen said if she made it through the next 24 hours without complications, she'd probably survive. Probably. The word doctors used when they didn't want to promise anything. Marcus kissed his daughter's forehead. "I'm going to go do something Abuela would have called stupid and brave. When you wake up, I'll tell you all about it." Lily didn't respond. The ventilator breathed for her. The main lobby was packed with reporters by the time Marcus arrived. Dr. Patterson stood at a podium looking like he'd just won an award. Behind him, a screen showed St. Catherine's Hospital logo and the words, "Medical Excellence in Action." Senator Hartford was already there standing in the back. He caught Marcus's eye and nodded. Dr. Patterson began speaking. "Yesterday we faced one of the most challenging cases of my career. A 17-year-old patient presented with sudden cardiac arrest. For 23 minutes my team and I worked tirelessly to resuscitate her. Standard protocols were failing. We needed to think outside the box to use techniques I'd been researching but never had occasion to implement. Through a combination of precise mechanical intervention and careful timing, we were able to restart her heart and save her life." Marcus felt rage building in his chest like a storm. Patterson continued, "This case demonstrates the importance of innovation in medicine, of not being bound by outdated protocols, of trusting experienced physicians to make judgment calls that's a lie." Marcus's voice cut through the lobby like a gunshot. Every head turned. Patterson's face went white. "Excuse me." Marcus walked toward the podium. Security moved to intercept, but Senator Hartford raised a hand. They stopped. "I said that's a lie, Dr. Patterson. You didn't save Elena Hartford. I did. You stood there for 23 minutes running protocols that weren't working. I'm the one who saw the paradoxical septal motion. I'm the one who performed the precordial thump with anterior-posterior compression. I'm the one who restarted her heart while you were yelling for security to remove me from the trauma room." The lobby erupted. Reporters surged forward. Cameras swung toward Marcus. Patterson gripped the podium like it was the only thing keeping him upright. You're the janitor. You have no authority to... I'm the combat medic who saved more lives than you've probably seen in your entire career. I'm the father who watched his daughter get put on a ventilator last night because I was suspended for doing your job better than you could. And I'm done watching you take credit for my work." Dr. Ortiz stepped forward with her tablet. "I have security footage from the trauma room, time-stamped, showing exactly what Mr. Williams just described. Would you like me to play it, Dr. Patterson? Or would you prefer to tell the truth yourself?" Patterson looked at Senator Hartford. "You're behind this. You put them up to this because you almost let my daughter die." Hartford's voice was ice. "Because you were more concerned with protocol than her life. Because when someone without credentials showed you how to save her, you tried to have him arrested, and then you stole credit for his work. You're done, Dr. Patterson. You're done lying. You're done practicing medicine. You're just done." Patterson's face went from white to red. "You have no proof. It's his word against mine. I'm the chief of cardiology. He's a janitor who lost his medical license for saving a teenager's life using a ballpoint pen because your colleagues at Detroit Memorial were too slow getting the cricothyrotomy kit." Hartford's voice got louder. "I've read Marcus Williams's full file, Dr. Patterson. I know about every life he saved, every time he broke protocol, because protocol meant death. And I know about every time doctors like you punished him for being better at saving lives than you are." A reporter shouted a question. "Senator Hartford, are you saying a janitor is better at medicine than trained doctors?" "I'm saying that sometimes experience matters more than credentials. Sometimes courage matters more than credentials. And sometimes we need to admit that our medical system is so concerned with liability and protocol that we're literally letting people die rather than try something unconventional." Hartford looked directly at the cameras. "My daughter was dead for 23 minutes. Marcus Williams brought her back to life in 5 seconds. That's not luck. That's skill. And if we're so arrogant as a society that we'd rather let people die than admit a janitor might know something doctors don't, then we deserve every malpractice lawsuit we get." Patterson tried to speak, but his microphone was off. Someone had cut it. He stood there opening and closing his mouth like a fish. Dr. Ortiz played the footage on the big screen. Every reporter in the lobby watched Marcus walk into that trauma room, watched him explain what he was going to do, watched Dr. Patterson tell security to remove him, watched Senator Hartford give permission through the intercom, watched Marcus save Elena's life in exactly the way he'd described. The lobby exploded with questions. Patterson pushed through the crowd, fleeing. Security didn't stop him. Senator Hartford addressed the cameras. "St. Catherine's Hospital will be conducting a full review of protocols and procedures. Dr. Patterson has been placed on administrative leave. And Marcus Williams," he looked at Marcus, "has been offered full reinstatement with the opportunity to complete medical recertification and return to practicing medicine, if he wants it." Marcus hadn't known about that part. A reporter thrust a microphone in his face. "Mr. Williams, will you accept? I need to check on my daughter first. Everything else can wait. Your daughter is sick. My daughter has cystic fibrosis and pneumonia. She's on a ventilator. So if you'll excuse me." "Did you save Senator Hartford's daughter while your own daughter was dying?" Marcus froze. "My daughter wasn't dying when I saved Elena. She was healthy, or as healthy as she gets. I didn't know she'd collapse the next day. I'm not psychic. I just saw someone who needed help and I helped her. Even though it cost you your job, I'd do it again. Every time. That's what being a father teaches you. You don't calculate the cost of doing the right thing. You just do it and deal with the consequences." "What would you say to Dr. Patterson?" Marcus thought about it. "I'd say that credentials don't make you a good doctor. Caring about patients does. And I hope whatever he does next, he remembers that." He walked out. Senator Hartford followed. "You didn't tell me about the recertification offer," Marcus said when they were alone. "Because I wanted you to tell the truth first, before you knew there was a reward. I needed to know you'd do it even if it cost you everything." "That's pretty calculated." "I'm a politician. Everything I do is calculated. But that doesn't make it wrong." Marcus's phone rang. "Dr. Chen." "Mr. Williams, you need to come back. Now, Lily's crashing." The world stopped. Marcus ran. Hartford ran with him. They made it to the pediatric ICU in 90 seconds, a trip that should have taken 5 minutes. Lily's room was full of medical staff again. The monitors were screaming again. Her oxygen saturation was dropping again. Dr. Chen emerged, his face grim. "The infection is resistant to the antibiotics we started. We need to switch to a different class of drugs, but they're extremely expensive and not usually approved for pediatric use. We're talking experimental territory. I need your consent." "Will it save her?" "I don't know, but if we don't try, she won't make it through the night." "Then try. Use whatever you need. Do whatever you need. Just save my daughter." Dr. Chen nodded and went back into the room. Senator Hartford put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. She's going to make it. She has to. After everything you've done. Everything I've done doesn't matter to Bacteria, Senator. It doesn't care that I'm a hero now. It doesn't care that I told the truth. It just cares about killing my daughter. Then we'll make sure the Bacteria loses. They waited. Hours passed. The sun came up. News vans filled the hospital parking lot. Marcus's phone filled with calls and texts from reporters, from old military buddies, from people he hadn't heard from in years. He ignored all of them. At noon, Dr. Chen came out. His face was unreadable. "Mr. Williams, your daughter is responding to the new antibiotics. Her oxygen levels are climbing. I think she's going to make it." Marcus's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the floor and put his head in his hands. Hartford sat down next to him. "She's okay. Your daughter's okay." "Yeah." Marcus's voice was choked. "Yeah, she's okay." They sat there on the floor of the pediatric ICU, a janitor and a senator, and neither of them said anything because there was nothing left to say. Lily woke up at 3 p.m. They'd extubated her an hour earlier, and she was breathing on her own, her oxygen levels stable, her eyes clear. "Dad?" Her voice was scratchy from the ventilator tube. "Hey, baby. I'm here." "Did I miss something? Everyone's being really weird." Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. "Yeah, you missed a few things. I'll tell you all about it when you're feeling better." "Did you save someone again?" "Kind of. I saved the truth. Turns out that's harder than saving people." "But you did it." "Yeah, baby, I did it." "Good. That's what heroes do." Senator Hartford appeared in the doorway. Lily's eyes went wide. "Dad, isn't that—" "Senator Hartford. Yeah, he's a friend. Sort of." "Sort of?" Hartford smiled. "I'd say we're definitely friends at this point, Marcus." Lily studied the senator with the intense scrutiny only 9-year-olds can manage. "My dad saved your daughter. That's what the TV said." "He did. He saved her when nobody else could. Your dad is a remarkable man." "I know. He's the best dad in the world, even when he's late coming home because he's saving people." Hartford's expression softened. "You know what, my daughter said the same thing about me once. Before I got too busy being a senator to remember that being a father is more important." "You should remember that," Lily said seriously. "Being a dad is the most important job there is." "I'll try. Thank you for the reminder." After Hartford left, Lily looked at her father. "Dad, am I going to be okay? For real?" "Yeah, baby, you're going to be okay. The doctors found medicine that works. Your infection is clearing up. You're going to get better. And we can afford it. You're not going to have to work 3 jobs again." Marcus thought about the contract in his pocket, about Hartford's guarantee, about the future that had opened up because he'd told the truth. "We can afford it. Everything's going to be different now, Lily. Better different. Because you were a hero. Because I refused to stop being your dad long enough to let someone else's daughter die. That's all. That's the whole story." Lily reached for his hand. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, baby. More than anything in this world." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Marcus stood at her window looking out at the city. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Ortiz. "Patterson resigned, effective immediately. Board is opening investigation into all his cases. You did it. You actually did it." Another text. This one from a number he didn't recognize. "Mr. Williams, this is David Chen, the teenager you saved 8 years ago with a pen. I saw the news. I'm in my first year of residency at Johns Hopkins. I want you to know that I'm alive because you refused to follow the rules. Thank you. If you ever need anything, I'm here." Marcus stared at that text for a long time. 2 lives saved by breaking the rules. Elena Hartford, David Chen, and probably others he'd never know about. The world wanted to call him a hero, but all Marcus knew was that he was a father who'd gotten lucky. Lucky that telling the truth hadn't cost him his daughter. Lucky that Senator Hartford turned out to be a man who cared more about gratitude than political convenience. Lucky that the bacteria responded to the experimental antibiotics. Lucky. But he also knew that luck ran out eventually. And when it did, he'd face the same choice again: do what's right or do what's safe. He touched the window glass cold against his palm and knew exactly which choice he'd make. Every single time. Lily was discharged from the hospital 6 days later. Marcus carried her to the car. She insisted she could walk, but he wasn't ready to let go yet, and drove home with his hands gripping the steering wheel too tight, still half expecting the universe to yank away this fragile good thing. Mrs. Chen had cleaned the apartment. There were flowers on the table, a casserole in the refrigerator, a note. "Welcome home, Lily. The whole building has been praying for you." Lily read it and started crying. "Mrs. Chen is the nicest person ever." "Yeah, she is. We're lucky to have her." "Are we lucky now, Dad? For real, or is this the kind of lucky that goes away?" Marcus knelt down to her eye level. "Baby, I don't know. I don't know if luck is real, or if we just got through the hard part, but I know you're home. I know you're breathing. I know I'm not going anywhere. That's all I can promise." That's enough. The first week home was quiet. Marcus took leave from the hospital they'd granted him 2 weeks while the administration sorted out his employment status. Lily went back to school half days. Marcus watched her like a hawk, checking her breathing, her color, listening for the wet cough that meant the infection was coming back. It didn't come back. On day 8, there was a knock at the door at 7 p.m. Marcus answered it and found Senator Hartford standing there with a teenage girl who had Elena's eyes and Senator Hartford's stubborn chin. "Mr. Williams, this is my daughter. Elena wanted to meet you." Elena Hartford looked nothing like the gray, lifeless body Marcus had seen on that trauma table. She was vibrant, alive, wearing jeans and a college sweatshirt, looking like any 17-year-old girl, except for the way she was staring at Marcus like he'd descended from heaven. "You're him. You're really him." Elena's voice cracked. "I've watched the footage 100 times. I've read every article. I know everything about what happened except I don't understand why. Why did you risk everything for me? You didn't know me. You didn't know my father was a senator. You just walked in and saved me. Why?" Marcus looked at this girl he'd fought death to keep alive. "Because I'm a father, and I saw another father watching his daughter die. I couldn't just stand there. That's all. There's no deeper reason. I just couldn't stand there." "But you lost your job. You almost lost your daughter. I'd do it again." Marcus's voice was firm. "Every time, in any universe. If I see someone dying and I know how to help, I help. That's not heroic. That's just being human." Elena was crying now. "Can I hug you? Is that weird? I need to hug the person who gave me my life back." Marcus hugged her. She clung to him like he was the only solid thing in the world. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up when everyone else did." Lily appeared from her room, curious about the visitor. She saw Elena and her eyes went wide. "You're the girl my dad saved, the senator's daughter." "And you're Lily, the girl who was sick while your dad was being a hero." Elena wiped her eyes. "I heard about what happened. I'm so sorry. If I'd known—" "You couldn't have known. Nobody could." Lily studied Elena with the directness of a 9-year-old. "Are you scared that you almost died?" "Terrified. Every day I wake up and remember that I was gone for 23 minutes. That's longer than I can hold my breath. Longer than I've ever been underwater. I was dead, Lily. Dead. And your father brought me back. He's good at that. Bringing people back. He did it in the war, too." Elena looked at Marcus with new understanding. "How many people have you saved?" "I don't keep count." "He's lying," Lily said cheerfully. "He keeps a notebook. It's in his closet. 43 people. You're number 43. Marcus felt his face flush. "Lily, What you do, keep count. You write down their names when you remember them and question marks when you don't. I've seen it. You're not as mysterious as you think, Dad. Senator Hartford was watching this exchange with an expression Marcus couldn't read. 43 people. In how many years? 12. 8 in Afghanistan. 5 at Detroit Memorial before they revoked my license. The rest? Marcus shrugged. Here and there. EMT work. Volunteer clinic. Places where credentials don't matter as much as showing up. And now Elena makes 43. Now Elena makes 43. Hartford pulled an envelope from his jacket. The medical board wants to meet with you. Next Tuesday. They're fast-tracking your recertification review based on my testimony and the evidence Dr. Ortiz provided. But Marcus, I need to warn you there's resistance. A lot of doctors are angry about what happened. They're saying you set a dangerous precedent, that we can't have unlicensed personnel playing doctor every time they disagree with protocol. I didn't disagree with protocol. I disagreed with letting a girl die. They don't see a difference. Then they're the problem. Elena spoke up. Mr. Williams, can I ask you something about that night? Anything. Were you scared? When you walked into that room knowing you could get arrested? Marcus thought about it. No, I wasn't scared of getting arrested. I was scared of your father watching you die and knowing I could have helped but didn't. That scared me more than anything they could have done to me. My father says you're the bravest person he's ever met. Your father is a politician. He's paid to exaggerate. Hartford actually laughed at that. Fair point. But I'm not exaggerating. You did what 22 trained physicians couldn't do. You looked at a dying girl and saw a solution everyone else missed. That's not luck, Marcus. That's skill. And the medical board would be idiots not to recognize it. The medical board revoked my license once for saving a life. They might do it again just to prove a point. Not this time. This time you have me. And I'm very good at making sure people don't prove points I disagree with. After they left, Lily climbed onto the couch next to her father. Dad, are you going to be a doctor again? I don't know, baby. Maybe. If they let me. Do you want to be? Marcus thought about that question. 8 years ago, losing his medical license had felt like losing a limb. He'd grieved it, buried it, moved on. Now the possibility of getting it back felt like being offered something he'd mourned and couldn't quite trust was real. I want to help people. If being a doctor is how I do that, then yeah, I want it. Then you'll get it. Because you're the best at not giving up. The medical board hearing was scheduled for Tuesday at 2 p.m. Marcus borrowed a suit from David Chen, the teenager he'd saved with a pen, who was now a first-year resident and apparently the same size as Marcus. They'd met for coffee the day before, and David had spent an hour telling Marcus that his entire career existed because Marcus had refused to follow rules. They tried to teach us in medical school that protocol exists for a reason, David said. That deviating is dangerous, that we should always consult, always get authorization, always cover our asses legally. Then I remember you jamming a pen through my throat in an emergency room because I was dying and you didn't have time for permission. And I think maybe the protocol is what's dangerous. Maybe the real malpractice is caring more about liability than lives. Be careful saying that out loud. You'll end up like me. I hope I end up like you. You're my hero, Marcus. You have been since I woke up in that hospital bed and found out a random ER tech had saved my life with office supplies. Now Marcus sat in the medical board conference room, wearing David's suit and his own scuffed shoes, facing 5 doctors who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. The chairman was Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, 60-something severe, with the kind of face that suggested she'd spent her career watching idiots try to practice medicine badly. Mr. Williams, we've reviewed your case, your military record, your employment history, the incident at Detroit Memorial 8 years ago, and the recent event at St. Catherine's Hospital. She steepled her fingers. Help me understand something. In both cases, the tracheotomy and the cardiac intervention you performed procedures outside your scope of practice. You violated protocol. You acted without authorization. Yet both patients survived. So I need to know, do you believe you're above the rules, or do you simply not care about them? I believe the rules exist to save lives. When they stop doing that, they stop being rules worth following. That's a dangerous philosophy. So is watching people die because you're too scared to try something unconventional. Dr. Morrison's expression didn't change. You lost your license because the family of the teenager you saved sued the hospital for malpractice. They claimed your intervention was barbaric, traumatic, that you should have waited for proper equipment. How do you respond to that? I respond that their son is alive. He's in medical school. He's going to save lives because I saved his. If that's barbaric, I'll be barbaric every time. One of the other board members, Dr. Richard Alvarez, leaned forward. Mr. Williams, what you're describing is vigilante medicine. You're essentially saying that anyone with medical knowledge should feel empowered to intervene in emergencies, regardless of credentials or authorization. That's chaos. That's how people die. People are already dying, Dr. Alvarez. They're dying because doctors are too concerned with liability, too worried about lawsuits, too paralyzed by protocol to think creatively when protocols fail. Elena Hartford was dead for 23 minutes, while 22 doctors ran textbook interventions that weren't working. At what point does sticking to protocol become malpractice? The room went silent. Dr. Morrison spoke. You make a compelling argument, but you're asking us to validate your violation of medical law, to reinstate a license we revoked specifically because you can't seem to follow rules. Why should we believe you won't do this again? I will do it again. Absolutely I will. If I see someone dying and I know how to save them, I'm going to save them, license or no license, authorization or no authorization. You can reinstate me or not. It won't change what I do when someone needs help. The only question is whether you want me doing it legally as a licensed physician or illegally as a janitor with combat medical training. Dr. Morrison almost smiled. Almost. That's either refreshingly honest or spectacularly arrogant. It's survival, Dr. Morrison. I learned in Afghanistan that hesitation kills, that waiting for permission kills, that sometimes you have 4 seconds to make a choice between following rules and saving lives. I chose saving lives then. I choose it now. I'll choose it until the day I die. If that makes me unsuitable for medical practice, then your medical practice is unsuitable for saving patients. Dr. Alvarez stood up. This is exactly the attitude that got you in trouble 8 years ago. You think you know better than the system. You think credentials don't matter. I think a 17-year-old girl is alive because I ignored credentials. I think a teenager is in medical school because I ignored protocol. I think 43 people are breathing because I cared more about them than about covering my ass legally. What do you think, Dr. Alvarez? How many lives have you saved by following the rules? The room erupted. 3 board members started talking at once. Dr. Morrison banged her gavel. Enough. Mr. Williams, step outside, please. We need to deliberate. Marcus waited in the hallway for 90 minutes. He paced. He sat. He checked his phone. Lily had texted, "You got this, Dad. They'd be dumb not to want you." At 4:30, they called him back in. Dr. Morrison looked tired. Mr. Williams, this board has reviewed your case extensively. We've consulted with military medical records. We've spoken with doctors who served with you. We've examined the outcomes of your interventions. And we've had a very heated debate about whether following the letter of the law matters more than the spirit of medicine. Marcus braced himself. We've decided to reinstate your medical license with conditions. You must complete a supervised residency program. You must pass current medical boards. You must work under attending physician oversight for a minimum of 2 years. And Mr. Williams? Dr. Morrison looked at him directly. If you ever perform an unauthorized intervention again, We will revoke your license permanently. No appeals, no second chances. You get one more chance to prove you can be both a good doctor and a responsible one. Don't make us regret this." Marcus couldn't breathe. You're reinstating me." "We're giving you the opportunity to prove you deserve to be reinstated. There's a difference. Don't waste it." He walked out of that conference room in a daze. Called Lily. "Baby, I got it. They're giving me my license back." I told you they'd be dumb not to want you." Lily was screaming with joy. "Dad, you're going to be a doctor again." "I have to finish training first. It's going to be hard. I'm going to be busy. But yeah, baby, I'm going to be a doctor again." "Abuela would be so proud. She always said you were meant to save people." Marcus's mother had died 3 years ago. She'd never stopped believing her son would get his license back. Never stopped telling him he was too good at saving lives to spend them mopping floors. Yeah, she would be proud. I wish she was here to see it. She sees it, Dad. I know she does. That night, Senator Hartford called. "Congratulations, Marcus. I heard the news. The board made the right call." "They made a call. Time will tell if it's right." "Always so optimistic. Elena wants to take you and Lily to dinner. Celebration dinner. Her choice. Will you come?" "Senator, I appreciate everything you've done, but nothing. My daughter wants to celebrate the man who saved her life getting his career back. You're coming to dinner. Saturday night. 7 p.m. I'll send a car." "I don't need—" "You need to let people be grateful, Marcus. It's a skill you should develop. See you Saturday." He hung up before Marcus could argue. Saturday came. The car that picked them up was absurd, a town car with a driver who opened doors and called Marcus sir. Lily was beside herself with excitement. "Dad, this is like being in a movie. Do you think there's a TV in here? Can we watch TV?" "I don't think we should touch anything, baby. This car costs more than our apartment." The driver smiled in the rearview mirror. "The young lady is welcome to watch whatever she'd like. Senator Hartford's orders make sure Miss Lily is comfortable." Dinner was at a restaurant Marcus had only seen in magazines, the kind of place where menus didn't have prices and waiters wore tuxedos. Elena and Senator Hartford were already there, sitting at a table that overlooked the city. Elena stood when she saw them. "Lily, I'm so glad you came. I've been wanting to meet you properly." Lily was suddenly shy. "Hi, you're really pretty. My dad said you were gray when he saved you, but you don't look gray now." "Lily," Marcus was mortified, but Elena laughed. "No, she's right. I was very gray. Apparently dying does that to you. But your dad fixed it. Now I'm not gray anymore. Now I get to eat dinner with you and tell you how amazing your father is." They sat, ordered food that Marcus couldn't pronounce. The waiter brought sparkling cider for Lily and wine for the adults and appetizers that looked like art. Senator Hartford raised his glass. "To Marcus Williams, the man who reminded me that courage matters more than credentials. Who saved my daughter when everyone else gave up. Who's about to become the doctor he always should have been." They toasted. Lily beamed. Elena turned to Marcus. "I've been thinking about what happened, about how close I came to not being here. And I realized something. I don't remember dying. I don't remember those 23 minutes. But I remember waking up. I remember seeing my father crying. I remember the feeling that something impossible had happened. That I'd been given something I didn't deserve. You deserve to live, Elena. Every person deserves to live. But not everyone gets to. That's what scares me. I could have been the one who didn't make it. The case study doctors talk about where they tried everything and it still wasn't enough. Instead, I'm the miracle. And it's only because you refuse to accept that trying everything meant trying everything you're allowed to try. I just did what needed to be done." "No." Elena's voice was intense. "You did what no one else was brave enough to do. And I need you to know, I'm not going to waste this. The life you gave me back. I'm going to medical school. I'm going to become the kind of doctor who doesn't give up, who isn't afraid to break rules when rules mean death. I'm going to be like you." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Elena, don't be like me. Be better than me. Be the kind of doctor who knows when to follow rules and when to break them. Be smarter about it than I was." "I'll try. But I'm also going to remember that sometimes being smart means being brave. You taught me that." Lily had been quiet eating her fancy pasta, but now she spoke up. "My dad is the bravest person I know, but he's also the scariest when he's scared. When I was in the hospital, he looked like he was going to fight everyone until I got better." "That's what fathers do, sweetheart," Senator Hartford said quietly. "We fight impossible battles for our children. We lose sleep and sanity and sometimes ourselves because the alternative, not fighting, is unthinkable." "Is that why you're helping my dad? Because he fought for your daughter?" Hartford looked at Marcus. "Partly. But also because your father is the kind of person the world needs more of. Someone who does the right thing even when it costs everything. That's rare, Lily. Rarer than you know." After dinner, Elena pulled Marcus aside while Lily was in the bathroom and Senator Hartford was taking a phone call. "There's something I need to tell you, something you should know before you go back to practicing medicine." "What?" "Dr. Patterson. He didn't just resign. He's been under investigation for months. Turns out he's been falsifying research, taking credit for other doctors' work, covering up complications. The board at St. Catherine's has found at least 12 cases where his ego led to patient harm. They're contacting families, preparing for lawsuits. It's a disaster." Marcus felt cold. "How many people died because of him?" "We don't know yet. But Marcus, if you hadn't exposed him, he'd still be practicing. He'd still be hurting people. You didn't just save my life. You saved everyone he would have hurt next." "I didn't know about any of that. I just knew he was lying about saving you." "Sometimes you don't need to know everything to do the right thing. Sometimes you just need to tell the truth and let it burn down whatever needs burning." When they got home that night, Lily was exhausted but happy. Marcus tucked her in and she grabbed his hand before he could leave. "Dad, are you scared about going back to being a doctor?" "Terrified." "Why?" "Because I'm going to have to follow rules I don't always agree with. I'm going to have to learn to work within a system I think is broken. And I'm scared I'm going to see someone dying and know what to do but not be allowed to do it, because some protocol says I need to wait for permission." "What will you do if that happens?" Marcus thought about his answer carefully. "I'll try to do it the right way first. I'll try to work within the system. But Lily, if someone is dying and the system is failing them, I'll do what I've always done. I'll save them, and I'll deal with the consequences. Even if it means losing your license again. Even then." "Good. Because you're not a rule follower, Dad. You're a lifesaver. Those are different things." "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from you." Marcus kissed her forehead and turned out the light. He stood in the hallway listening to her breathe and thought about the choice he'd just promised to make again and again. Save lives first. Ask permission later. Accept the consequences. It had cost him everything once. It had given him everything back this time. He had no idea what it would cost next time, but he knew with the certainty of a man who'd watched his daughter almost die while bureaucracy debated payment that he'd make the same choice. Every single time. Because that's what being a doctor meant. Not following rules, saving lives, and trusting that sometimes the two were the same thing. And sometimes they weren't. And knowing the difference was what separated good doctors from great ones. Marcus Williams was about to find out which kind he was. Marcus's first day back in medicine started at 5 a.m. in an emergency room that smelled like every ER he'd ever worked in, disinfectant, fear, and coffee that had been sitting too long. He wore scrubs that still had creases from the package and an ID badge that said, "Resident Physician, Supervised," like a scarlet letter. His supervising attending was Dr. Sarah Kim, 45, sharp-eyed, with the kind of exhaustion that came from 20 years of overnight shifts. She looked at Marcus like he was a bomb that might explode. "You're the janitor. Former janitor, current medical resident. You're also the guy who saved Senator Hartford's daughter by violating every protocol we have. I'm the guy who saved her life. The protocol violation was a side effect." Dr. Kim's expression didn't change. "Let me be very clear, Dr. Williams. You're here on conditional reinstatement. That means you follow my orders. You consult before acting. You do not under any circumstances perform procedures without authorization. If you see something you think I'm missing, you tell me. You don't fix it yourself. Are we clear?" "Crystal, I don't believe you, but we're short-staffed, and apparently you know what you're doing when you're not getting arrested. So let's try this. You work, I watch. We both survive the shift without you making national news. Think you can manage that?" "I'll try my best. Your best is what scares me." The shift started routine: broken arm, allergic reaction, chest pain that turned out to be anxiety. Marcus worked carefully, methodically, asking permission for everything, running every decision by Dr. Kim first. By hour 3, she was watching him with something like grudging respect. "You're good at this, better than most first-year residents. Why did you stop practicing?" "I didn't stop, I got stopped. There's a difference." The tracheotomy with the pen. "You've read my file." "Everyone's read your file, Dr. Williams. You're famous. Or infamous. Jury's still out." Dr. Kim checked her pager. "We've got incoming. Multi-vehicle accident. 3 ambulances. This is going to get messy. Stay close. Follow my lead. Don't improvise." The ambulances arrived within minutes of each other. The first patient was a woman in her 30s, stable, fractured pelvis. The second was a teenager, concussed but conscious. The third was a 10-year-old boy who wasn't breathing. Marcus's training kicked in before his brain caught up. He moved toward the gurney. "Trauma 2, doctor." Kim was already running. "What have we got?" The paramedic was doing chest compressions. 10-year-old male unrestrained passenger ejected from vehicle. Arrived on scene in respiratory arrest. We've been bagging him for 8 minutes. Can't establish an airway. Tried twice. His anatomy's wrong. Trachea's deviated. We can't move. Dr. Kim took over the airway attempt. Marcus watched her try. Fail. Try again. Fail again. The boy's oxygen saturation was dropping. 70%. 65. 60. Dr. Kim's face was tight. "Get me anesthesia. Now. We need a surgical airway." "Anesthesia is in OR 3. It'll take 15 minutes to get someone down here." "He doesn't have 15 minutes. Page them stat." Marcus was staring at the boy's neck. He could see the deviation. Could see exactly why standard intubation was failing. Could see the solution as clearly as if someone had drawn him a map. "Dr. Kim, his cricothyroid membrane is accessible. I can do a cric in 90 seconds. "You're a first-year resident, Dr. Williams. You're not doing a surgical airway unsupervised. Then supervise me. But we need to move now. He's at 58%. Dr. Kim looked at the monitor. At the boy's blue lips. At Marcus's steady hands. "You've done this before. 7 times. Afghanistan. 2 in Detroit. Never lost one. If you screw this up..." "I won't screw it up. But if we wait for anesthesia, he's brain dead in 4 minutes. Your call, Dr. Kim. But make it fast." She grabbed the cricothyrotomy kit. "Talk me through it. Every step. You deviate from protocol, I stop you. Clear. Clear." Marcus's hands moved with muscle memory older than thought. Extending the neck. Palpating the cricothyroid membrane. "It's right here, feel that. That's our window." Dr. Kim felt it, nodded. Local anesthetic. Horizontal incision through skin and membrane. 1 centimeter. Inserting the tube. Inflating the cuff. Bagging now. The boy's chest rose. The monitor beeped. Oxygen saturation started climbing. 62, 68, 75, 80. The room let out a collective breath. Dr. Kim stepped back. That was textbook. Absolutely textbook. Where the hell did you learn to be that calm? You don't stay calm in combat zones. You just move fast enough that panic doesn't catch up. Anesthesia arrived 4 minutes later, looking annoyed at being paged for an emergency that was already handled. Dr. Kim pulled them aside, explained the situation. Marcus heard the words, exceptional circumstances, and no other option, and he saved the kid's life. The boy was rushed to surgery, stable, breathing, alive because Marcus had done exactly what Dr. Kim had told him not to do, improvise. Except he'd done it with permission this time, with supervision, within the system. It felt strange, like wearing shoes that almost fit but pinched in weird places. After the trauma cleared, Dr. Kim pulled Marcus into an empty exam room. That was impressive and terrifying. You moved like you'd done it 1,000 times. 9 times. I told you 7 in Afghanistan, 2 in Detroit. You didn't tell me you could do it that fast. Most surgeons take 3 minutes for a crick. You did it in 90 seconds. Most surgeons don't practice on people who are actively dying in the field. Speed isn't optional when mortar fire is incoming. Dr. Kim studied him. You're going to be a problem, Dr. Williams. Not because you're reckless, but because you're too good. You make other doctors look slow, and people don't like being shown up. I'm not trying to show anyone up. I'm trying to keep people alive. I know. But medicine is political, ego-driven, territorial. You walking in here and being better than doctors who've been practicing for 20 years, that makes enemies. Watch your back. Marcus didn't have time to respond. His phone rang. Lily's school. Mr. Williams, this is Principal Davidson. Lily's having trouble breathing. We've called an ambulance, but we thought you should know. The world stopped. I'm on my way. He ran. Didn't ask permission, didn't clock out. Just ran. Lily's school was 12 minutes away. Marcus made it in 7, leaving his car illegally parked and sprinting through the front entrance. An ambulance was already there. Lily was on a stretcher, oxygen mask on her face, her eyes wide with fear. Dad. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. What happened? I was running in gym class, and I couldn't breathe. My chest got tight, and She started coughing, wet and productive, the sound Marcus had learned to hate. The paramedic was young, competent. Are you her father? I'm her father, and I'm a physician. What are her stats? Oxygen sat 89% on high-flow O2. Respiratory rate 32. Bilateral wheezing. History of CF. Cystic fibrosis. Yeah. She had pneumonia 2 weeks ago. We thought she'd cleared it, but... Marcus listened to Lily's lungs, heard the rails, the congestion, the sound of infection coming back. We need to get her to St. Catherine's. Now. She needs IV antibiotics and aggressive respiratory therapy. Sir, we're not authorized to transport to specific hospitals based on parental preference. We go to the nearest facility, which is County General. No, absolutely not. County General doesn't have pediatric pulmonology. They don't have her records. They don't know her history. We're going to St. Catherine's. Sir, I understand you're a doctor, but we have protocols. Marcus felt something snap. My daughter is in respiratory failure. She needs specialized care. I'm not letting you take her somewhere that can't help her because of protocols. You're going to St. Catherine's or I'm driving her myself. The paramedic looked at his partner. Call it in. Let them know we're deviating from standard routing based on physician-parent request. They loaded Lily into the ambulance. Marcus climbed in beside her, holding her hand, watching her oxygen levels fluctuate between 87 and 91%. Not good. Not dangerous yet. But trending wrong. Dad, I'm scared. I know, baby. But we're going to the hospital. They're going to fix this. Just breathe. Slow and steady. You know how. St. Catherine's ER was ready when they arrived. Dr. Chen, the same doctor who'd treated Lily 2 weeks ago, met them at the door. Marcus, what happened? Exertion-induced respiratory crisis. I think the pneumonia never fully cleared. She needs a chest X-ray blood cultures, and we need to restart broad-spectrum antibiotics immediately. Agreed. Let's get her to pediatrics. They moved Lily to a room, started IVs, ordered tests. Within 30 minutes, the diagnosis was confirmed recurrent pneumonia, same bacterial strain as before, but now showing resistance to the antibiotics they'd used last time. Dr. Chen's face was grim. Marcus, this is Burkholderia capacia. It's one of the most dangerous CF complications. It's resistant to almost everything. We're going to need to try combination therapy, multiple antibiotics at high doses, but I need to warn you the side effects are significant. Kidney damage, hearing loss. She's going to be very sick before she gets better. Do it, whatever it takes. There's another option. There's an experimental treatment, bacteriophage therapy. We use viruses that specifically target the bacteria. It's not FDA approved yet. It's only available through clinical trials. But Marcus Senator Hartford called me this morning. He's been funding CF research. He said if Lily ever needed experimental treatment, he'd pay for it. He'd get her into any trial. I think this is what he meant. Marcus felt like he was drowning. You're telling me my daughter's life depends on a favor from a senator? I'm telling you that you have options most CF families don't have, and one of those options might save her life. What are the risks? Unknown. It's experimental, but Marcus, the bacteria she has. Without treatment, it's fatal. With standard treatment, she has maybe a 30% survival rate. With phage therapy, early trials are showing 70%. 30% versus 70%. Marcus called Senator Hartford. Marcus, is everything okay? No. Lily's back in the hospital. Resistant pneumonia. Dr. Chen said you have connections to experimental CF treatments. I need help. Tell me what you need, anything. Bacteriophage therapy trial. Dr. Chen says it's not approved yet, but there's a trial at Johns Hopkins. I know the principal investigator. I'll make a call. Lily will be enrolled by end of day. Don't worry about cost. Don't worry about logistics. Just take care of your daughter. Senator, I can't keep taking from you. At some point, you saved my daughter's life and asked for nothing in return. This is me paying it forward. Let me help Marcus, please. Marcus closed his eyes. Thank you. Thank Elena. This was her idea. She's been researching CF treatment since she found out about Lily. She's the one who told me about the phage therapy trials. She's the one who made me promise to help if your daughter ever needed it. Lily was enrolled in the trial 4 hours later. A team from Johns Hopkins drove down with the experimental treatment actual viruses designed to hunt and kill bacteria. They explained the risks, the unknowns, the possibility that it wouldn't work. Marcus signed the consent forms. They started treatment that night. Lily's fever spiked to 104. She was delirious, calling for her grandmother, crying that she couldn't breathe. Marcus held her hand and whispered promises he couldn't keep. You're going to be okay. You're going to beat this. You're the strongest person I know. Dr. Chen checked on them at midnight. How is she? Terrible. This is working, right? Tell me this is working. It's too early to know. The phages need time to replicate to find the bacteria to do their job. We won't see improvement for at least 24 hours, maybe longer. She doesn't have longer. Look at her. She's burning up. Her oxygen is dropping again. What if? Don't go there, Marcus. Don't start thinking about what ifs. You're a doctor. You know better. I'm not a doctor right now. I'm a father watching his daughter suffer. Then be both. Be the father who doesn't give up, and be the doctor who knows that medicine takes time. 24 hours passed like 24 years. Lily's fever broke at hour 36. Her oxygen levels stabilized at hour 40. At hour 48, her chest X-ray showed the first signs of improvement. The phages were working. Dr. Chen showed Marcus the blood cultures. The bacterial count is dropping significantly. Whatever those viruses are doing, it's working. She's going to make it, Marcus. Your daughter is going to make it. Marcus sat down hard in the hallway and cried. Dr. Kim found him there an hour later. Dr. Williams, I heard about your daughter. I'm so sorry. How is she? She's going to live. Experimental treatment. It's working. That's incredible. Listen, I know you've been gone for 3 days. I told administration it was family emergency. But Marcus, there's something you need to know. The boy you saved the crick you did. His parents want to meet you. They've been calling the hospital non-stop asking for the doctor who saved their son. I was just doing my job. You were doing it better than most doctors do it after 20 years. The trauma surgeon who took over the case said your airway was the cleanest field crick he'd ever seen. You didn't even nick the thyroid. Perfect placement. Perfect technique. He wants to know where you trained. Afghanistan. The best trauma education money can't buy. Dr. Kim sat down next to him. I owe you an apology. I thought you were going to be a cowboy, someone who couldn't work within the system. But you asked permission. You explained every step. You followed protocol while still being brilliant. That's the kind of doctor we need, Marcus. Not the ones who blindly follow rules. The ones who understand when the rules serve patients and when they don't. Does that mean I'm not getting fired for leaving my shift? That means you're getting promoted. Attending position. Emergency medicine. Salary benefits, the whole package. Contingent on finishing your recertification. But Marcus, you're too good to waste on supervised residency. We need you actually practicing medicine. Marcus couldn't process it. An attending position, I've been back for 3 days. You've been saving lives for 12 years. The 3 days were just paperwork catching up. Dr. Kim stood. Go be with your daughter. Come back when she's healthy. We'll be here. Lily was discharged a week later. The experimental treatment had worked. The bacteria was gone. Her lungs were clear. She was still fragile, still had CF, still needed daily treatments, but she was alive and breathing and laughing again. Elena Hartford visited the day Lily came home. She brought flowers and a teddy bear and a stack of medical journals. I've been reading about CF treatment innovations. There's a new gene therapy trial starting next year. It could actually cure the underlying cause, not just treat symptoms. I want Lily to be in it. Elena, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Your daughter is sick because of genetics. My daughter, if I have kids, someday won't be sick because your dad saved me. That's not fair. So I'm going to spend my career making CF curable. That's my mission. Lily inspired it. Lily hugged Elena. You're the best almost doctor ever. I'm going to be the best real doctor. Just like your dad. After Elena left, Lily looked at her father. Dad, are you scared about being an attending? Terrified. Because you might have to break rules again. Because I might have to choose between the rules and saving someone. And next time, I might not have permission. What will you do? Marcus thought about Elena Hartford on that table. About the boy with the deviated trachea. About David Chen choking on his own throat 8 years ago. About 43 people who were alive because he'd refused to let protocol kill them. I'll save them, Lily. Rules or no rules. Permission or no permission. I'll save them. Even if it costs everything again. Even then. Good. Because that's who you are, Dad. You're not Dr. Marcus Williams who follows the rules. You're Marcus Williams who saves people. That's all that matters. Marcus started his attending position 2 weeks later. His first shift was quiet. His second shift was chaos. 3 traumas, 2 codes, 1 successful save that required improvisation. Dr. Kim didn't question because Marcus had earned her trust. His third shift changed everything. A woman came into the ER at 3 a.m., 8 months pregnant, bleeding. Not spotting. Hemorrhaging. Her OB wasn't on call. The on-call OB was at another hospital. The woman was from out of state, no records, no insurance, no prenatal care. The ER resident took one look and called for immediate transfer to labor and delivery. Marcus examined her, saw the problem immediately. She's got placental abruption, complete separation. She's bleeding into her abdomen. The baby's in distress. We need to deliver now. Emergency C-section. The resident looked panicked. We can't do that here. We're not equipped for... We have an OR. We have instruments. We have anesthesia. What we don't have is time. That baby has maybe 5 minutes before hypoxia causes brain damage. Call OB. Tell them we're doing it here. Dr. Williams, we can't perform surgery outside our department without authorization. Hospital policy states, hospital policy doesn't account for women bleeding to death in the ER. I'm doing this. You can help or you can document why you let a baby die because of paperwork. Marcus was already moving, calling for an OR, prepping instruments, doing the thing he'd promised not to do, acting without full authorization because waiting meant death. Dr. Kim appeared. Marcus, what the hell are you doing? Saving 2 lives. You can report me after. But right now I need an anesthesiologist and I need this woman in an OR. Are you with me or not? Dr. Kim looked at the woman, at the blood, at the fetal monitor showing decelerations that meant oxygen deprivation. I'm with you. But Marcus, this better work. It worked. 22 minutes later, Marcus delivered a baby boy, crying, healthy, alive. The mother stabilized. No complications. A perfect save. And 12 hours later, Marcus was called to the hospital administrator's office to explain why he'd performed an unauthorized surgical procedure outside his department without proper consultation. He walked into that office knowing he might lose everything he'd just gotten back, and knowing he'd do it exactly the same way again, because saving lives wasn't about permission. It was about having the courage to act when action was the only answer, even when courage cost everything. The hospital administrator was Margaret Reeves, the same woman who'd suspended Marcus after he saved Elena Hartford. She sat behind her desk with a file folder that Marcus knew contained documentation of every rule he'd broken in the past 3 weeks. Dr. Williams, have a seat. Marcus sat. Dr. Kim was already there, looking tense. I'm going to be direct, Margaret said. Last night you performed an emergency cesarean section in the ER, without OB authorization, without proper surgical privileges, without consulting the on-call attending. Do you dispute any of these facts? No. Do you have an explanation? A woman was bleeding to death. Her baby was dying. The on-call OB was 40 minutes away at another hospital. I had maybe 5 minutes to make a choice. I chose to save them both. You chose to violate hospital protocol, again. Margaret's voice was flat. Dr. Williams, when we reinstated your license, we were very clear about the conditions. You were to work under supervision. You were to consult before acting. You were to prove you could function within the system. Instead, you've proven that you'll break any rule you consider inconvenient. I didn't break rules because they were inconvenient. I broke them because they were killing people. That's not for you to determine. That's for attending physicians with proper training and authorization to determine. Dr. Kim spoke up. Margaret, I was there. The woman would have died. The baby would have died. Marcus made the right call. Dr. Kim, I respect your judgment. But making the right call doesn't absolve Dr. Williams of violating policy. If we allow this, we're saying anyone can perform any procedure as long as they believe it's medically necessary. That's chaos. That's medicine, Marcus said. Real medicine. The kind that happens when seconds matter and committees don't. Dr. Williams, you're suspended effective immediately, pending a full board review. The door opened. Senator Hartford walked in, followed by a woman Marcus didn't recognize. She was in her late 20s, carrying a baby, and she was crying. I'm sorry to interrupt, the woman said. But I heard Dr. Williams was in trouble. I'm Jessica Morales. He saved my life last night. He saved my son's life. And I need to tell you what happened before you punish him for it. Margaret's expression didn't change. Ms. Morales. I appreciate your gratitude, but this is a personnel matter. Then make it a public matter. Senator Hartford's voice cut through the room. Because if you fire Marcus Williams for saving this woman's life, I'll make sure every news outlet in the country knows that St. Catherine's Hospital prioritizes bureaucracy over patients. Again. Senator Hartford, this isn't about politics. Everything's about politics, Margaret, especially when you're firing a hero for the second time. Hartford turned to Jessica. Tell them what happened. All of it. Jessica took a shaking breath. I'm from Ohio. I came to visit my sister. I started bleeding. I went to 2 hospitals before St. Catherine's. 2 hospitals that turned me away because I don't have insurance and I'm not from this state. They told me to go to county. County told me to wait. I was bleeding for 3 hours before I got to Dr. Williams. She started crying harder. 3 hours. While doctors debated who was responsible for me. While administrators called my sister asking about payment methods. While I felt my baby dying inside me. Dr. Williams didn't ask about insurance. He didn't ask about authorization. He just saved us. And now you're going to fire him for that. Marcus felt something break open in his chest. This woman had been turned away, multiple times, left to bleed while the system decided if she was worth saving. Margaret looked at Jessica, at the baby, at Senator Hartford's expression that suggested heads would roll if the answer wasn't satisfactory. Ms. Morales, I'm glad you and your son are healthy. But Dr. Williams violated clear protocols. I can't simply ignore that because the outcome was positive. Then you're part of the problem, Jessica said. You're one of the people who would have let me die because paperwork was more important than my life. That's not fair. Fair. Jessica's voice rose. You want to talk about fair as a doctor who sees a dying woman and helps her. Not fair as a system that punishes him for it. My son is alive because Dr. Williams didn't care about fair. He cared about saving us. Senator Hartford stepped forward. Margaret, let me make this simple. You have 2 choices. You can fire Marcus Williams, and I'll make sure the story of how St. Catherine's repeatedly punishes doctors for saving lives becomes national news. Or you can recognize that maybe, just maybe, your protocols are broken and the problem isn't the doctors who break them. Senator, you can't threaten the hospital every time. I'm not threatening, I'm promising. My daughter is alive because Marcus refused to follow your protocols. This woman and her baby are alive for the same reason. At some point you have to admit that the problem isn't Marcus. It's the system that makes saving lives a fireable offense. The room went silent. Margaret looked at Marcus. What do you want, Dr. Williams? Really? Do you want to work within the system, or do you want to keep being a lone wolf who makes his own rules? Marcus thought about that question. Thought about Elena on that table. About the boy with the deviated trachea. About Jessica bleeding while hospitals debated insurance. About 43 lives saved by refusing to wait for permission. I want to change the system. I want protocols that actually serve patients instead of protecting hospitals from liability. I want doctors who are empowered to use their judgment instead of being paralyzed by fear of lawsuits. I want, his voice cracked, I want to practice medicine the way it's supposed to be practiced, where saving lives matters more than covering asses. That's a nice speech, but it's not realistic. Then make it realistic. You're the administrator. You have the power to change policies, to create new protocols, to build a system where doctors like me don't have to choose between doing the right thing and keeping our licenses. Dr. Kim stood up. He's right, Margaret. I've been practicing emergency medicine for 20 years, and I'm tired of watching good doctors get destroyed for using their judgment. I'm tired of protocols that serve lawyers instead of patients. If you fire Marcus, you're firing the best emergency physician this hospital has ever had, and I'll resign in protest. Dr. Kim, that's not a bluff. I mean it. Marcus has shown me what medicine is supposed to look like, and if this hospital can't support that, I don't want to work here. Margaret closed the file folder, sat back in her chair, looked at all of them like they were a problem she didn't know how to solve. Dr. Williams, you're not fired. You're reassigned. Effective immediately, you're no longer an attending. You're the new director of emergency protocols. Your job is to review every policy, every protocol, every rule that governs emergency care at this hospital. And you're going to rewrite them. With Dr. Kim's oversight and Senator Hartford's funding, you're going to create a system where doctors can actually do their jobs without fear of being fired for saving lives. Marcus stared at her. You're promoting me. I'm weaponizing you. You're obviously incapable of following rules. So I'm putting you in charge of making better ones. Don't make me regret this. Senator Hartford smiled. Margaret, that's the smartest decision you've made in years. Don't patronize me, Senator. And Marcus. If you abuse this authority, if you create chaos instead of clarity, I will personally ensure you never practice medicine again. Are we clear? Crystal? Good. Get out of my office. All of you. I have a headache. They left. In the hallway, Jessica caught up to Marcus. Dr. Williams, I don't know how to thank you. You just did. You stood up for me when you didn't have to. That's more than most people would do. You saved my son. I'd do anything for you. Jessica adjusted the baby in her arms. I named him Marcus, after you, Marcus James Morales, so he'll always remember that someone cared enough to break the rules for him. Marcus felt his throat tighten. That's a hell of an honor. You're a hell of a doctor. Jessica kissed her son's forehead. When he grows up, I'm going to tell him about the doctor who saved us when everyone else gave up. And I'm going to make sure he knows that sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the wrong rules. After Jessica left, Senator Hartford pulled Marcus aside. That was masterful. Margaret just gave you the authority to remake emergency medicine policy. Do you understand what that means? It means I have responsibility without the protection of just following orders. If I screw up, there's no one to blame but me. Exactly, so don't screw up. Hartford's expression turned serious. Marcus, I have a proposition. Elena's going to medical school next year. She wants to specialize in emergency medicine. She wants you to mentor her. Senator, I've been an attending for 3 weeks. I'm not qualified to mentor anyone. You're the most qualified person I know. You've saved more lives in 3 weeks than most doctors save in 3 years. Elena needs to learn from someone who understands that medicine is about courage, not credentials. That's you. What if I teach her the wrong things? What if I make her too willing to break rules? Then she'll be exactly the kind of doctor the world needs. Hartford clapped Marcus on the shoulder. Think about it. She starts med school in August. You have 6 months to decide if you're willing to shape the next generation of emergency physicians. Marcus went home that night to find Lily waiting up for him, even though it was past 10 p.m. Dad, Mrs. Chen told me you were in trouble. Are you fired? No, baby. I got promoted. Sort of. It's complicated. Did you save someone again? Yeah, a mom and her baby. And they wanted to fire you for it. They wanted to fire me for how I saved them. But it worked out. I'm okay. We're okay. Lily hugged him tight. You're always okay, Dad, because you're the bravest person I know. I'm not brave, Lily. I'm just stubborn. Same thing. Abuela used to say brave people are just stubborn people who care about the right things. Marcus held his daughter, breathed in the smell of her shampoo, and felt the weight of everything that had happened in the past month settle onto his shoulders. He'd gone from janitor to doctor, from fired to promoted, from broken to what fixed, no. Just functional in a different way. Still broken in the places that mattered. Still carrying the weight of 44 lives saved and wondering how many more he'd have to save before he could stop counting. 6 months later, Marcus stood in front of a conference room full of emergency medicine residents. Elena Hartford sat in the front row, notebook open, eyes bright, with the kind of idealism Marcus wasn't sure he still had. My name is Dr. Marcus Williams, he began. I'm the director of emergency protocols at St. Catherine's Hospital. I'm also the guy who saved a senator's daughter after 22 doctors failed. The guy who got arrested for doing it. The guy who lost his medical license 8 years ago for using a pen to save a teenager's life. And the guy who's about to teach you that everything you learned in medical school is important, until it isn't. The room was dead silent. Medicine is about protocols, about evidence-based practice, about doing what's proven to work, and 99% of the time following those protocols will save lives. But there's that 1%, that one case where the textbook doesn't have an answer, where the protocols are failing, where every second you spend consulting and confirming and covering your ass legally is a second your patient doesn't have. That's when you have to choose. Do you follow the rules and watch someone die? Or do you break the rules and face the consequences? A resident raised his hand. Dr. Williams, what if we make the wrong call? What if we break protocol and the patient dies anyway? Then you did everything you could, and you live with it. But let me tell you what you can't live with: standing there knowing you could have saved someone and choosing not to try because you were afraid of being sued or fired or blamed. That will destroy you faster than any malpractice lawsuit. Elena spoke up. How do you know when to break the rules? You don't, not for certain. But you learn to trust your training, your instincts, your experience. You learn to recognize when the system is serving the patient and when it's serving liability protection. And when those two things conflict, you choose the patient. Every time. Even if it cost your career. Marcus looked at his star student, at the girl he'd saved who was now learning to save others. Especially then. Because the only thing worse than losing your career is keeping it by letting someone die. The lecture series went on for 12 weeks. Marcus taught them field medicine, combat triage, unconventional interventions, when to follow protocols and when to improvise, how to document carefully to protect yourself legally while still doing what needed to be done. Elena excelled. She was smart, fearless, and absolutely unwilling to accept that rules mattered more than lives. She reminded Marcus of himself at 22, before the system had beaten the idealism out of him. On the last day of the course, Elena stayed after class. Dr. Williams, I've been accepted to Johns Hopkins Emergency Medicine residency. They want me to start next summer. That's incredible, Elena. Johns Hopkins is the best program in the country. I know, but I'm thinking about turning it down. Marcus blinked. Why would you do that? Because they're not teaching what you're teaching. They're teaching protocols. Liability protection. CYA medicine. I want to learn real emergency medicine. The kind that saves lives. So I'm asking, will you be my attending? Here at St. Catherine's. Will you teach me what you know? Marcus felt something shift in his chest. Elena, Johns Hopkins is prestigious, I know, but prestige doesn't save lives. You do. I want to learn from you. Please. Marcus thought about it. About the responsibility. About shaping the next generation. About passing on everything he'd learned in combat zones and emergency rooms and moments when seconds mattered more than degrees. Okay. But you need to understand, I'm going to push you. I'm going to put you in situations where the textbook doesn't help, where you have to make impossible choices, where you might fail. Good. That's what I need. Not someone who teaches me to be safe. Someone who teaches me to be brave. Brave gets you fired, Elena, or arrested, or worse. Brave also saves lives, and that's why I'm here. 2 years passed. Elena became the kind of doctor Marcus had always hoped to train: brilliant, fearless, and completely unwilling to let protocols kill patients. She saved 17 lives in her first year of residency using techniques that weren't in any textbook. She also got reported to the medical board twice. Marcus defended her both times. The charges were dropped. Lily turned 12. Her CF was managed with the experimental treatments Elena had helped research. She was healthy. Happy, dreaming about becoming a doctor herself someday. David Chen, the teenager Marcus had saved with a pen, finished his residency and joined St. Catherine's as an attending. He and Marcus worked side by side, teaching the next generation that courage mattered more than credentials. The emergency protocols Marcus had rewritten were adopted by 47 hospitals across the country. They became known as the Williams Protocols, a framework for emergency decision-making that empowered physicians to use judgment while still maintaining accountability. 3 hospitals reported a 20% increase in successful trauma outcomes after implementing the protocols. 7 more were in the process of adopting them. Marcus didn't keep count of lives saved anymore. The number had gotten too big, too abstract. Now he focused on the individual moments, the choices, the split seconds when doing the right thing meant risking everything. On the 3rd anniversary of saving Elena Hartford, Marcus was called to the ER for a complex trauma. Multi-vehicle accident, patient in cardiac arrest, 20-minute transport time. The attending was struggling. Marcus arrived to find chaos. The patient was a teenage boy, same age Elena had been. The attending was trying standard resuscitation protocols. They weren't working. Marcus looked at the monitor, saw the pattern, saw the problem. "Step aside," he said quietly. "If you want him to live, let me try." The attending looked at him, recognized him, stepped back without argument. Marcus's hands moved with muscle memory, the same technique he'd used on Elena, the same choice, the same risk. The boy's heart restarted. The room erupted in celebration. Marcus stepped back, let the team take over, and walked out into the hallway where Elena was waiting. She'd heard the code blue. She'd known her mentor would be there. "Another one?" she asked. "Number 73, if I'm still counting." "You're still counting?" "Yeah, I'm still counting." Elena smiled. "Good. That means you still care. The day you stop counting is the day you stop being the doctor who taught me that saving lives is worth breaking rules." Marcus looked at his student, at the doctor she'd become, at the future of emergency medicine standing in front of him. "You're going to be better than me, Elena. You already are. I'm going to be different than you. But I'm going to remember what you taught me, that protocols are guidelines, not absolutes. That patients are people, not policies. That medicine is about courage, not credentials. Don't let them beat that out of you. The system is designed to make you scared, to make you cautious, to make you care more about liability than lives. They can try. But I learned from Marcus Williams. I'm not easily scared." They stood there in the hallway of St. Catherine's Hospital, a janitor who became a doctor, and a senator's daughter who became a physician, and neither of them said what they were both thinking. That the world was changing. That medicine was evolving. That the next generation was learning to choose courage over caution. That saving lives would always matter more than following rules. That sometimes the most important thing a doctor could do was step aside and let someone braver try. That credentials didn't save lives. People did. Marcus Williams went home that night to Lily, who was doing homework at the kitchen table, her breathing clear, her color good, her future bright. "How was work, Dad?" "Saved someone, number 73. You're going to run out of numbers eventually." "I hope not, baby. The day I run out of people to save is the day I retire." "You'll never retire. You're addicted to being a hero." "I'm not a hero. I'm just a doctor who refuses to let people die when I know how to save them." "Dad, that's literally the definition of a hero." Marcus smiled, kissed his daughter's forehead, looked at the life they'd built from the ruins of everything they'd lost. He'd started as a janitor mopping floors. He'd become a doctor saving lives. But the thing that mattered most hadn't changed. He was still Marcus Williams. Still a father who would risk everything to save someone else's child. Still a man who believed that mercy mattered more than protocols. Still someone who would walk into a trauma room, push past the rules, and save a life that everyone else had given up on. And he'd do it again tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day until he couldn't anymore. Because that's what being a doctor meant. Not following the rules, saving the patient in front of you. Every single time, no matter what it cost. That was the promise Marcus Williams made the night he saved Elena Hartford. And it was the promise he'd keep for the rest of his life. Not because he was a hero, but because he was human. and being human meant refusing to stand by while someone else died. Even when standing up cost everything, especially then.